the Cinema Shogun here, and do any of you all remember AstroWorld? It seems like a distant memory. You know, life is coming at us so fast. There's so many crazy things going on in today's world that AstroWorld, even though it was just a few months ago, seems like it was years ago. But you know, for the people who were there, and for the people who lost loved ones that were there, AstroWorld feels like it was just yesterday. In fact, every day, more lawsuits are being filed by people who got injured at AstroWorld, some more severe than others. And there's also countless people who have had some, they're dealing with some things mentally ever since AstroWorld. It definitely had a psychological effect on a lot of the people that were there. But now, the AstroWorld death toll has risen to 11 because a woman just had a miscarriage due to the injuries that she sustained at AstroWorld, and now she is filing a wrongful death lawsuit against Travis Scott. But there's a debate going on surrounding this situation because they're basically saying, when do you consider a life a life? One of the biggest news stories going on right now in this country is the Roe v. Wade situation. And one of the debates surrounding that situation is, when does life really start? And that debate is going on within this AstroWorld lawsuit. Now, the situation is very complex, and I don't feel the need to get into my thoughts on how I feel about Roe v. Wade or when life starts or what have you. But I want to get into this story real quick and give you all an idea of what is going on. A woman who lost her pregnancy after sustaining multiple injuries while attending Travis Scott's AstroWorld Festival has sued Scott, promoter Live Nation, and others for wrongful death. Documents have revealed. Now, one thing I will say, I'm glad that she's not just suing Travis Scott, that she's also suing Live Nation. I think both of them share some responsibility for what happened here. A lot of people, when this happened, they tried to just say, Travis Scott has nothing to do with this. None of this should be put on Travis Scott. Well, I beg to differ. If you want to know my full thoughts on this, I did extensive coverage of AstroWorld when it happened. You can go back and watch those videos. But I'm definitely not someone who thinks that Travis Scott is innocent in all of this. Shanazia Williamson and her husband, Gerard Owens of Dayton, Ohio, were expecting a child before the festival and filed a suit against Travis Scott, Promoters Live Nation, and Score More, security company Valet Services, SMG, SMM Global, and the Harris County Sports and Convention Corporation. The suit was filed in December, but it was never previously reported. This goes to show what I was trying to tell you all back then. I was telling you all, there are more deaths, there are more injuries that happened at AstroWorld than we will ever know. Some have been covered up, some are, they're suing. They went ahead and right away and sued, and they didn't release a lot of the information surrounding what may have happened there. So finally it comes out that this lawsuit was filed months ago. We are just now hearing about it in May because they tried to keep it under wraps as much as they could. They really did. So like I said, it confirms what I've been telling you all. While in attendance at the festival, Shanazia was trampled and crushed, resulting in horrific injuries and ultimately the death of her and Gerard's unborn child, the suit says. In addition, Shanazia sustained injuries to her shoulder, back, leg, chest, stomach, and other parts of her body. Defendant's failure to plan, design, manage, operate, staff, and supervise the event was a direct and proximate cause of Shanazia's injuries and death of her and Gerard's unborn child, the suit said. The suit also alleged that the defendants were negligent for various reasons, including inadequate security and medical personnel for the festival, along with failing to recognize safety hazards, among several other allegations. And exactly, the whole way the thing was planned out was complete garbage. No one in their right mind should have planned this thing the way they did. The way the stage was set, it was set in a way that would result in a crowd crush. It would almost certainly result in a crowd crush, because where the sound systems were, where the sound booths were, where the private booths were, where how the stage was jutting out, all of it was just a recipe for disaster, especially when you're encouraging your own fans to sneak into the show. And they're jumping over fences, running past security. Mind you, the security, most of them were not trained. And I tried to tell you all back then that a lot of these security at these events, they don't have any training in security. They show up, it's like a temp job. They go to a temp agency. They're said, hey, show up at the Civic Center on this date. You go there, they give you a badge, they give you a yellow shirt, and they send you in the crowd. I know plenty of people who've done jobs like this, okay? Most of them don't have training. Most of them probably aren't going to do anything when a situation arises. They're just there to give you the impression that you're secured and to basically scare you not to do anything too crazy. But most of them have no idea what they're doing, and if something happened, they wouldn't do anything because they're not trained to. And why? You just showed up to a tip agency and they sent you somewhere. You don't even know what the hell is going on. So yeah, most of these security, they weren't real security, okay? They were temp agency jobs. And even the security guards who were working at AstroWorld came out and said it, like, yeah, I didn't have any damn training. They just were like, hey, show up here. I did. Next thing I know, shit, people were dying. Like, that's how the world is, people. You have to realize that. A lot of these, and I say it all the time, regardless of what we're talking about, these professionals, these experts. Yeah, right. Yeah, effing right. Williamson and Owen's attorney, Jason Itkin and Kurt Arnold, declined to comment on the case, citing February's gag order limiting what lawyers can divulge publicly about AstroWorld cases. So, once again, that's another reason why we aren't hearing about some of these situations that happened at AstroWorld, because there are gag orders out there. I know people have a short attention span. People have moved on from the AstroWorld situation, but we have yet to find out how many people were affected by AstroWorld. We don't know the true death count to this day. You know, now we're hearing of another death. I mean, I guess depending on when you think life begins. But I mean, how can you tell a woman who's pregnant, like, hey, that wanted to have her child, mind you, she wanted to have her child, and then you're like, hey, that's not a life. That's something I definitely can't agree with, you know? Like, I don't care where you fall in on the debate about, you know, if you're pro-choice, pro-life, what have you. I don't feel like you could just be like, hey, you know what? I don't care that we killed your baby because life hasn't even begun yet. I don't think you should be able to tell an expecting mother that, you know, like, so you could just get away with, you know, causing women to have miscarriages because so-called, in your opinion, you know, maybe life hasn't begun yet. Complicated situation, man. Extremely complicated situation, but I definitely don't think that's okay. And I mean, that has nothing to do with my stance on abortion. That just has everything to do with my stance on being a decent human being. Like, you don't do that. So here we go now. The couple's suit is one of the more complicated to arise from the festival. While the suit doesn't concern abortion rights, it carries the same implications that fuel the debates on when life begins. States across the country have their own determinants on whether a fetus can be eligible for wrongful death lawsuits. Texas Civil Practice and Remedies Code specifically includes fetuses as eligible in these suits for the moment of fertilization. It isn't immediately clear how often claims like these arise or what type of legal precedent Williamson and Owens' claim could bring. Now, Texas has included fetuses within its wrongful death claim statutes since 2003. As Elizabeth Sepper, a law professor at the University of Texas who specializes in health law, constitutional law, and religious liberty notes, Texas's court system hasn't had to handle many cases like these, given that so many tort lawsuits end with out-of-court settlements. So they're basically saying that in Texas, they haven't really had to deal with many lawsuits like this. So they're kind of unsure themselves how it would work out because they haven't seen many cases like this play out. And the ones that they have seen have usually resulted in, people just getting paid off. Out-of-court settlements, you drop the lawsuit. So they haven't really seen how this would hold up in court yet. I would assume in this situation, more than likely, this will result, or the end of this will probably be another out-of-court settlement, depending on how upset this woman is. Maybe the money doesn't mean anything to her. Maybe she just wants these people to be held accountable. You never know. But hey, money talks as well. Cases like these do carry ethical questions about how legal entities define a living person, though. Abortion advocates refute the notion that life starts at conception. Regardless, as Sepper says, that doesn't mean cases like these have to conflict with how abortions are legally evaluated. While she notes that treating a fetus's termination as a civil or criminal matter could imply granting fetuses constitutional rights reserved for living people, she says it can also be interpreted more simply within the broader tort law about the physical and psychological toll a potential act of negligence could have on the pregnant person. Like, I'm all up for debates. I'm all up for different points of views and things like that. I don't consider myself like strongly on either side of the fence here. This is a situation, or this is a debate that for the most part, I try to let other people have, because at the end of the day, I try not to, regardless of how I feel about a certain situation, I do believe in the right for people to do what they want with themselves. But it's just a complicated situation. But this, to me, isn't a complicated situation. I don't think there should be this debate going on surrounding this woman and when she decides that the baby inside of her was alive. You know what I mean? Like, dude, imagine you're pregnant. All right? You're excited to be pregnant. You and your husband planned this out. You're thrilled. And then you get crushed at a concert. Now, okay, you're pregnant. You probably shouldn't be at AstroWorld, okay? That's a given. But you get crushed. Something happens to you. And then people tell you, well, you know what? That wasn't a life anyway. Screw the fact that you were pregnant. Who cares? That it doesn't matter how you feel about it. That is not right. That's disgusting to me. So I don't feel like there should be a debate surrounding this case. This woman was pregnant and she lost her child. There shouldn't be a debate on, what is this alive or is that alive? How many weeks is this? How many weeks is that? No. This woman was pregnant and she lost her child at this concert. Don't tell this woman how she should feel about it. I don't agree with this at all. In thinking about these kind of cases, courts have sometimes said this isn't a situation like abortion. It doesn't involve the same sorts of analysis because when we're thinking about abortion, we're balancing the state interest in preserving or protecting fetal life against a pregnant person's right to privacy and bodily autonomy. So their interests are in conflict. But when we're talking about a wrongful act that results in the loss of a pregnancy, the pregnant person's interests align with a fetal interest. And it's in the interest of the mother to have people not commit wrongs against the fetus that she is carrying. Exactly. Why does this have to be explained? This shouldn't have to be explained. I don't understand why there should be a debate around this. We can have debates around other things, but damn, this woman lost her child, and you're basically trying to tell her, oh, you didn't lose a child. You didn't lose a life. That's just a fetus. It means nothing. Your case should just be dismissed. Like that, oh my God, man. Sepper notes that a defendant's alleged negligence leading to the fetus's termination doesn't have the same protection of an abortion. In your run-of-the-mill case concerning a wrongful death of a fetus, you would have a pregnant person suing, let's say a careless driver. Sepper says careless drivers don't have a constitutional defense. They can't claim that they have an interest in privacy or bodily integrity in a pregnancy. Even though these statutes might send a message about fetal personhood, the careless driver doesn't have an interest like bodily integrity in not having this statute apply. Williamson and Owens' claim is one of hundreds that have been filed recently. And I'll get into that maybe in a future video, but there are way more injuries than we ever heard about. There's tons of lawsuits out there. I think the number is around 500 at this point. And of course, Travis Scott is still denying everything. In fact, Travis Scott is going to be performing soon, I believe, where is it? The Billboard Awards? Yes, Travis Scott has made his comeback. He's already released some music. He is going to have some performances soon. And all this while he is basically still under fire for what happened at AstroWorld. I'm not a big fan of cancel culture. In fact, I am adamantly against cancel culture. Also not a big fan of people not being held accountable for the things that they do just because they're rich or they're famous. This is it's an ongoing situation that continues to get more complicated as things move along. You know, because at the end of the day, I don't want Travis Scott to take the full brunt of everything that's going to happen here. I want it to go one step further, and I want Live Nation and other people to be held responsible as well, because yes, Travis Scott should have and he could have stopped the show. If you're someone who still thinks that he couldn't have stopped the show, I already proved that he could in past videos. He should have and he could have, and not just that, he was told that people had died. He knew it. He even made the call for his own child and his own baby mother to be evacuated out of the concert while he continued to perform while people were still getting crushed. So he knew what was going on. That's been proven. At the same time, while I think he should be held accountable for this, Live Nation should also be held accountable because they're the ones that, throw together these concerts and they cut corners, try to maximize profits wherever they can. So they hire random security guards. They don't plan out the venues the right way. You name it. There's a lot of complications here, but I want both of them to be held accountable. But I want to know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, drop a super thanks if you would like. And as always, find some time out of your day, and I haven't said this in a while, to go watch a movie. And be careful. It's Friday the 13th.